What's going on YouTube? So Cadillac has been revamping their entire lineup over the last few years, and now it's time for their biggest sedan to get some love. This is the refreshed 2025 Cadillac CT5, and this sedan is sporting big tech upgrades and better looks. So with these big updates, is this a surprise bargain against rivals like the E-Class and 5 Series? Well, let's go ahead and find out. All right, so let's start things off here with our spec dump as always. So under the hood of the refreshed CT5, you're gonna continue to find 4 different engine options all the way up to the mighty 6.2 liter supercharged V8. This is the 2 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder though. It's making 237 horsepower and 258 pound-feet of torque, paired to a 10-speed automatic transmission. Our combined fuel economy is 25 mpg.
Now, of course, there's a lot more to talk about in the test drive portion, which will be coming up. We'll also be getting things like our signature sound level reading. After that, we're additionally discussing resale value and reliability, which is a new thing we're adding to our reviews.
But we have to close up the hood because there are big changes to the exterior and maybe even bigger changes to the interior. All right, so starting off our exterior design with the front end, this is really where Cadillac focused most of their attention for this 2025 exterior refresh. You're gonna notice up in the front, they've substituted in their latest and greatest grille. Now there's a lot of different trims you can get on this model. We have the sport trim level today, so that's gonna add some sporty elements, including this black mesh that we have through the center of the grille. As you can see, we do still have a little bit of chrome trim that goes tastefully through there. And then you have black on the lower parts of the fascia as well. Now, what they have really revised a lot is gonna be over here in this area. So you have this little extra accent here, and this is going to be below our brand new headlight unit. So you are gonna have full LED headlights standard on every CT5. This here, as you can see, is a very premium arrangement, which matches with the latest Cadillacs. We have the waterfalling daytime running light, the sequential turn signal right there, as well as the stacked crystal design. And these also have animations on most models, so they have cool effects when you enter and exit the vehicle. Now rolling on to the rear design, it also has a clean and sporty design overall.
Yeah, I really like this CT5. As far as some of your design elements, we have a spoiler up top. And then let's take a look at our taillights and see if all the elements are LED. That's why Drew's hopping inside. That's something we do in all of our Car Confections reviews. We have an LED brake light, LED turn signal, and then our reverse light is integrated down here in the bumper area. All 3 elements are LED. I really like the overall design of it. Then as we're talking about this lower diffuser area, you will notice that we have dual exhaust outlets. That's for your standard models. However, if you choose a V series, you're gonna get quad exhaust outlets.
Now moving on to our wheels, you do have 18 and 19-inch alloy options. This is a 19-inch dark gray finished alloy wheel. I think it looks very nice with the overall design. This is a quite a sporty looking vehicle, maybe even more so than its German competitors. As we move on from that, we also have our Cadillac emblem right there. And then taking a look at our mirrors, these are gonna be fully loaded on today's model. So that means we have driver's side auto dimming, we have power folding, in addition to blind spot monitoring and heating.
Now at the side, you're gonna see that really nice rear drive proportion, and overall vehicle length is 193.8 inches. Now when it comes to your safety systems, there's quite a bit to talk about here because Drew didn't mention it at the front, but we do have a revised trim structure for 2025. You're actually getting rid of that base luxury trim level, so now you're starting at the premium luxury grade, which means that you're gonna have every single safety feature as standard equipment, including Cadillac's Super Cruise system, which is a hands-free highway driving function. But guys, let's go ahead and dive into that tech-filled cabin. But first, if you're new here, we're brothers and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12
and 16. We may be young, but we love cars.
And we'd love for you to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family. Let's learn a lot, have some fun with all the latest cars.
All right, now let's go ahead and get into the interior. First, of course, we'll take a look at the key fob. We do have a standard smart entry system with remote start, but you'll notice this fob is kind of souped up. We have this really nice red painted area on it, and the reason we have this is actually because this matches with these brake calipers. So we have the optional Brembo brake calipers. These are $1,000, and then they give you the matching key fob to go along with it. I kind of like that touch. That's really nice. Now, another thing that is nice, as I mentioned earlier, was the cool animation. So I'll go ahead and unlock the door with the smart entry system so we can check out those animations. As you saw, those were very cool animations, just like you get in something like the Lyriq. And let's take a look inside the interior, because you're gonna notice there are some elements from the Lyriq inside of this new interior. But before we get into that stuff, let's first talk about your seats and your material choices. So you're gonna start off with a leatherette as standard on your Sport and V models. However, we have the optional real leather seats. This is finished in a color contrast setup. This is called Whisper Beige with the black accents. I think they look really, really fantastic. I love the design on board, the perforation, the different stitching details, and you have nice thick bolsters that are really going to hold you in place when you're driving aggressively. The other thing I really like is the fact you have a lot of adjustability here. You're looking at 14-way power adjusting as standard. We have 18-way power adjustment, and we actually even have massaging abilities on board with this model. But let's go ahead and climb inside. As soon as you get inside and shut the door, you're going to see a really impressive looking animation go across this huge new screen. We're going to talk, obviously extensively about this new technology because it's really a big deal, but it just shows it off right as soon as you get inside. First, though, we need to talk about your overall cabin materials. So we'll start off with our door trim. You're going to find a leatherette that goes all through here, as well as through the center section with the color contrast stitching. This Sport trim level is going to give you a carbon fiber trim. Other versions get different trims, of course. Soft touch plastic along the top. Leatherette is going to cover all of the upper parts as well as the center section. You have more of the carbon fiber trim there, as well as around the shifter, and more leatherette for your knee to bump against. And we'll go ahead now and fire it up with the push button start. And now that everything's all fired up, let's begin, as always, with our gauge cluster. But in this case, we really need to just talk about the whole display itself, because that's the neatest thing about the interior technology upgrade, is the fact that this has a single piece 33-inch curved display. That's right, all of this is one seamless display, not multiple displays. And it really just combines to have a super elaborate look. Now, obviously, you can see this section is going to be devoted to your gauge cluster. And right now, we have it in the Google Maps view, so you can use that. But also over here on the side, we can use this touchscreen to customize to a few different designs based on what your preference is. And then you can also, as you can see, engage with some additional multi-function information and head-up display adjustments located right over there. And speaking of, we do have the available head-up display on board with today's model. Now, as we pull back to the steering wheel, we do have one of the newer Cadillac designs for the steering wheel. You will notice that it is power, tilt, and telescoping. It also has standard heating as well for all of the models. And you do have the Super Cruise sensor built right in. Also in this area, you get your rain sensing wipers and your 3-person memory seats. But let's get into interior storage. This is still a relatively, large sedan. Let's see how many donuts fit inside. That's right, it's Car Confections. We load the center consoles down with donuts so we can check out the volume. And in this case, we have 8 donuts inside. That is pretty good for a midsize luxury sedan. I also like that it's completely felt lined. Now, as we kind of look forward here, we've got a slot, which you can stick your phone in, but this is actually not the wireless phone charging pad. That is going to be up here in this front area. You also have another storage cubby next to it, and then your cup holders are hidden underneath of that leather trim. Now, taking a look at the shifter, all the models that don't have the manual transmission and the V black wing are going to come with this electronic shifter. Pull down for drive. When you're in drive, you can use these real metal paddle shifters. When you go into reverse, you're going to see a new 360-degree camera system, which is standard across the entire CT5 lineup. You've got active trajectory on board, and you can switch between a few different views, although it does not appear that we have the 3D view where you spin all the way around the vehicle like you have on Lyric and Escalade. Now, taking a look behind there, you're going to notice a couple controls. This is for your infotainment system, although it is also a touchscreen. And then we have our volume knob for the audio system. So in this model, we have the 15-speaker AKG premium sound system. And let's go ahead and give this a sample right now. Yeah, so overall sound quality is quite good. Certainly fills up the cabin very nicely. The other thing I really like about it is you get those really nice speaker grills. So they're kind of a smoked metal with the AKG branding on them. All right, let's continue our tour. The next place we come to are our climate controls. These are going to be very similar to what you've seen in other Cadillac models. You've got the cool rolling effect as you make adjustments to the dual zone automatic setup with the physical metal toggles. You have some other buttons below for various interior functions, including our 3-stage heated seats, which most models will come with. And then we also have the available 3-stage ventilated seats on this sport trim level. All right, now let's talk about our main infotainment system. Once again, part of the general 33-inch display. So this is running the latest Cadillac user interface. Right now I'm in Android Auto. You do have Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, both of which run wirelessly. One thing I do want to point out though, which I'm sure you're noticing, is the fact that as this curves down, this actually does not have the capability to shape into this weird shape, so it just kind of appears in a small box inside of the main display. That makes it a little bit smaller than what you'd get in most other vehicles. When we go into the actual user interface itself, as you can see, very slick graphics. The big thing here is that we have Google Apps built in, so you do have things like Google Maps I was showing you earlier, as well as Google Assistant inside the system itself. As we rise above here, we have the rear camera mirror system, and then up on the roof, you're going to notice that we have a panoramic sunroof. This is kind of a dual panel arrangement, and this front portion does open up.
Let's go ahead and dive into the rear seat area of the CT5. So as far as this place is concerned, it's going to be pretty decently sized. So we're sitting at about 38 inches of legroom, about 36.6 inches of headroom though. So do be aware, for someone who's 5'9" like myself, my head's kind of starting to scrape the ceiling when I actually sit up straight. So be aware, if you're 6 foot range, I'd say you're probably not going to be very comfortable back here. One of the things we do in all of our Car Confections reviews though is get the knee measure with the seat adjusted to Drew, who is 5'8", and I am 5'9". We're sitting at a very solid like 9 inches of additional knee room. So the leg room itself is going to be pretty good. The headroom's a little bit lacking. My feet can slide up underneath the seat. And I do want to point out that this center area is quite large for the center tunnel hump. Now, as far as features, we have vents here in the center. We also have a 12-volt outlet, a USB-C port, no power outlet or heated rear seats. If we fold down the center armrest, we do have 2 cup holders inside. As far as the door trim, this is going to be pretty nice. Soft touch plastic, carbon fiber, all of the same materials that you find in the front, and we do also have a pretty decent size bottle storage. Walking up to the cargo area, you will notice that we do have a very nicely dampened trunk. You can also get a full power trunk as an available option on this model. As far as the space is concerned, about 11.9 cubic feet is what you're going to be sitting at for the CT5. I do want to point out that your seats do fold. They're going to fold 60-40 split. One of the things we also do in all of our Car Confections reviews is get the cargo measures in case you're looking to haul something. And as far as cargo length, we're sitting at about 40 inches. As far as cargo opening, That's going to be a little bit more narrow at 36 inches. And then as far as cargo height, about 20 inches tall is what you're going to be looking at. And then if we lift up the floor, you will find a tiny bit more storage. You will not find a spare tire, though. Well, guys, here we are behind the wheel of the refreshed Cadillac CT5. In this test drive, we're going to be discussing quite a few things, as you can see on the screen right now. We'll be getting our sound level reading, but first we're going to go ahead and start with a hard acceleration.
All right, there we are at 60 miles per hour. Like we mentioned at the spec dump, one of the cool things about this CT5 is that it's got a lot of powertrain choices. Actually, it's one of the very few vehicles I think I've ever seen with, I think, a 440 horsepower delta between the top power option and the lowest power option. Yeah. So that's pretty crazy. We actually are in the lowest power option. This is the one that I think a lot of people are going to go with if you're not really power hungry per se. This is a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine. It's making 237 horsepower and 258 pound-feet of torque. Those are not incredible numbers, but when you punch it, like I just did, really it gets up to speed perfectly fine. It's, like I said, not going to blow you away, but it does a fine job overall.
Yeah, I have to say, reading the power figures, it seems like it would be a little bit on the slow side, but, upon that initial acceleration, I think just due to it being in a smaller sedan body, it does feel definitely fast enough for the average person, I think. It won't be quite as quick as the German alternatives like the 530i, the Mercedes E350 with its standard 2-liter turbo 4, but it's still going to be peppy enough for the vast majority of people. And like Drew said, there are so many different options that you can pick. So if this doesn't do, float your boat, you can get something else. Speaking of the something else, so you can get the Premium Luxury for about $3,500. You can option on a 3-liter twin-turbo V6, 335 horsepower on that, 405 pound-feet of torque. That also is the same engine that they use in the V model, so you get the CT5V. Now, for the V, it's going to be enhanced, so it's going to have more horsepower, 360 horsepower, the same 405 pound-feet of torque. And then, of course, you have the range-topping CT5V Blackwing, which is actually something that we sampled out not too long ago. Phenomenal. I mean, I could talk about that all day long. It's so good. Go
watch our video on that. You won't regret it. Just from an auditory perspective, you could just sit there and listen to that supercharged V8 all day long. The 6-speed manual transmission. It's obviously going to be very different than the model we're in today, but like I said, it is just a really phenomenal experience overall. Now, as far as the other element of the powertrain, we have a 10-speed automatic transmission. Overall performance of this transmission, quite nice. Definitely like this experience. Really smooth transmission. It has a lot of gears, but it also doesn't feel confused. So, you put your foot down, it's able to drop multiple gears if need be, or otherwise, like I said, just kind of operate smoothly in the background.
Power is routed to the ground via either the rear wheels or optional all-wheel drive. And let's go ahead and just discuss ride quality in the CT5. So we've just been cruising along here down the highway. We've hit some bumps in the road, and so far I've been pretty impressed with the overall ride experience in this vehicle. It's definitely going to be a little bit more luxury focused here in just the standard configuration like what we're in today. But overall, pretty solid ride quality. The seats are quite comfortable, and I'm getting a back massage right now, and the massage I give like kind of a B rating. It's pretty good. It's not the best massage I've ever had, but it's definitely nice that it is included at this price point.
Yeah, I definitely like the power thigh extension on these seats as well. That's really nice and comfortable. And overall, even though this is the sport trim level, like Mason said, this version is kind of geared towards someone who wants the sport appearance, but also wants the luxury side of things when they're actually driving, because Cadillac does offer you the V. That's the one where you get the really enhanced performance, and then the V Blackwing is the ultimate step up.
Alrighty, and we're going to speed up to 55 miles per hour and get our signature sound level reading. That's something we do in all of our reviews so we can see how quiet this Cadillac CT5 is. We have it on fan speed 1. 57 decibels is what we are sitting at for this refreshed CT5. And we don't have to sit here and guess how that compares to the competition, because we can find that at carconfections.com/sound level readings and see how it compares to those German rivals. Now, that is going to place it as louder than both the BMW 5 Series and the Mercedes E-Class, as well as the Lexus ES. So do keep that in mind. It is going to be a little bit on the louder side of things. However, I think it's still going to be a pretty quiet cabin overall, so most people won't mind that difference, I don't think.
All right, we're heading up to one of the corners, and I went ahead and put the vehicle in sport mode as well, so we can talk a little bit about driving dynamics. So as we round that corner there, that's a good demonstration of what I think is a very strong element of this CT5, and that is those driving dynamics. Cadillac really put a lot of attention into this area when they developed this model, and this platform is very, very capable. As you know, with the Blackwing, that is an extremely capable vehicle, and I'm glad that a lot of those elements have kind of been brought down here. You have very flat cornering when you go around corners, good handling in terms of the steering. It's nice and responsive as well, so you can see that you get that nice immediate response when you turn off center, and it just gives it a little bit of a sportier edge actually than the German rivals, which is kind of weird to say, but yeah, they have become more and more luxury oriented, so this really is kind of the way to go if you want a little bit of a sportier dynamic.
Now, I also want to go ahead and get into our Car Confections Slam Dunk and Airball, which is our favorite and least favorite element. Drew, why don't you kick us off with the Slam Dunk?
So for the Slam Dunk, we've got to say the 2025 improvements. This refresh, I think, made a big difference. First of all, freshening up the exterior to make it look fully modern like the rest of the Cadillac lineup. Most importantly, though, tech improvements inside of this interior.
Yeah.
They really gave it state-of-the-art technology that really stands out in the segment and elevates the overall experience.
Yeah, I also want to point out that the standard feature list is quite nice this year, despite that lower price tag than a lot of the competition. And finally, when we talk about our Airball, what our least favorite element is, that's going to be just the overall cabin luxury. This is not as good as a BMW 5 Series, a Mercedes E-Class, and those German rivals. I mean, it just really is not quite as nice. Some of the materials used, it's not that it's bad, it's just not up to their level. But you are getting a price incentive for that, and we'll talk about that in just a second. And finally, wrapping things up, you may be curious about the fuel economy. It's going to be coming in at 25 miles a gallon combined. We have the 2-liter with all-wheel drive. If you choose rear drive, that goes up to 26. Of course, there's too many different powertrains for me to discuss all the fuel economies, but do be aware your Blackwing will be quite a bit lower. When it comes to your warranty, finally, you do have their signature warranty, which is a 4-year 50 basic, 6-year 70,000 mile powertrain. That's longer than most of the rivals, so keep that in mind. I do also get your first visit complimentary covered by Cadillac. Let's go ahead and talk about pricing for this CT5. So this year we're going to start at around $47,500 for the premium luxury, which is your new base trim level. Sport is $48,500, and then as far as the this model, you will notice that we have that. We also have quite a few of the options that you can get on it. I think pretty much almost all of them. All told, we're sitting at $58,065 when we add in our $1,395 destination charge. And if you're looking to buy a Cadillac CT5 or any new vehicle, we would encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes. Now, the reason you do that is because we have a tool on our website that will connect you with local car dealers in your area to get you the best price. It's also going to give you access to invoice pricing information, which is a great tool for dealership negotiation. If you'd like to take advantage of that, a link is provided in our video description. We also have a pinned comment at the top of this video. And now it's time for us to discuss potential resale value and reliability to make sure you're making a smart purchase. Now, first up, we'll talk about resale value. Now, as an economics graduate myself, Drew and I took the time to develop what we think is a good estimate for this Cadillac CT5's potential resale value. We estimate that after 5 years and 60,000 miles, it'll be worth around 40% of its original MSRP, and after 10 years and 120,000 miles, around 14% of its original MSRP. Now, it's worth noting that all luxury brands are typically lower than mainstream brands, but this is going to be even a little bit lower than some of the other luxury alternatives like Lexus, Acura, BMW, and Mercedes.
Now, we've also done the same for reliability by developing the Combined Reliability Index. This takes into account several trustworthy sources and combines them in a way that gives you a more holistic picture. In this regard, Cadillac is rated above average against all other vehicle makes.
Now, if you'd like to learn more about our reliability and resale values, as well as our methodology behind it, be sure to go to carconfections.com/resale value and carconfections.com/reliability. Buying a car is a very big decision, so you want to make sure you're making a smart purchase, especially if you're cross-shopping between other vehicle brands. And guys, that's going to be where we leave off on this in-depth review of the 2025 refreshed Cadillac CT5. If you enjoyed watching this video and found it helpful in your purchasing decisions, which we hope you did, we'd really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button down below. By subscribing, not only are you going to get more car reviews like this, you're also going to be a part of our Car Confections family. And we have a lot of fun in this channel that I promise you won't want to miss out on. So do yourself a favor, subscribe. If you're already part of our family, thank you so much for your continued support, and we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.